Welcome to our final feature match for our Saturday tournament today on April. Oh my goodness, what date is it? I don't even know.
10th.
April 10th. Either way, I believe this is are we on number 48 of these Saturday challenges now at this point?
I think we are on number 48. Let me double check. Yeah, I think
We're somewhere. Regardless, today commentating, you have me, Oliver V, and down below me, you got the one, the only Dr. Leo. Doc, how are you doing today?
hello everybody. How are you all doing? It is Doc here, and I'm doing well. I got to play in today's event. I'm happy. Went 3-1 drop for this last round, so I can commentate, but had a lot of fun. And really liking my deck, and overall just doing well. It's a beautiful spring day outside. I mean, shorts, t-shirt, like sun coming through, flowers are blooming. It's a great day. Great day.
Not only that, we have a fantastic final match. This is actually going to be a clean break. The winner of this match will be taking down today's event. We have Chaman on Elves, the same list that Chaman took down either last week or the week before with this same list. And then Malfi with an absolute pile of spice. We got Rug Food Chain, which has kind of been making the rounds on MTGO and becoming the preferred version of Food Chain. But it is pretty tight. We do have Malfi on the play here, winning the die roll, and both players keeping 7.
Yeah, so this is game one is the leverages towards elves because elves is a faster combo deck. It's more resilient, as well as the fact that Shaman has shown that like can go through and just slam elves as fast as possible. With that being said, Malfi is pretty much on the three birds of paradise. So there is a possibility for like a turn 2 food chain into like a combo, and if you have the pieces to go up the chain. So it is possible for a fast combo kill, and Malfi being on the play does have the advantage there. But Shaman, I mean, you can just invalidate so much of this deck by just having like turn 1 solid like heritage druid, or turn into turn 2 just like spew out your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, Shaman is just the faster goldfisher here. Of
Mhm.
note, with this teamer version of Food Chain, is you are running lightning bolts, 3 in the main deck. Malfi has been complaining about them all day, but this is about to be the matchup where it's actually good, where there is because a well-timed lightning bolt on a key piece, say it be the heritage druid, say it's on the
Mhm.
insect, right? That a key that could be enough to delay a turn or two and make it so Malfi can kind of steal this game. The biggest thing about this rug Food Chain, and the thing that's the most cool, Sultai was kind of the go-to for so long, right? That was the
Yeah.
standard food chain list. Banned food chain started to become a thing, playing the white recruiter because you were able to go and get walking ballista with it as well. But what we've been seeing now is switching to this new version, playing the one, the only Imperial Recruiter, OG Portal 3 Kingdoms card, of course, reprinted since then. Because with this red version, there's finally a food chain piece that you can target and get. You can go and get Squee the Immortal, that good old Dominaria card. But that's the first time that there's
Yep.
been one of the cards that actually makes infinite mana with Food Chain that's tutorable with a recruiter. Normally, you don't really need it, of course, because you have Manipulate Fate, the best worst card in this entire deck. Um,
And
but it just
manipulated fate is always phenomenal.
so good.
Here's the trick with it: if you can counterspell it, or if you can remove from their hand, do it. But keep on telling me about this Imperial Recruiter edition.
Well, the biggest thing that it ultimately does is it makes it so you have more redundancy in getting to the combo pieces with the food chain. And then besides that, it does the same thing as the traditional white recruiter in the banned list, right? You're just able to go and play kind of your control game, where food chain we kind of think of as a combo deck because it can combo off, but really it's a mid-range control deck with a combo finish, kind of really dear to my heart. I actually play a good amount of Sultai food chain, or did for a little bit. But the amount of times that you can just like go back on your combo plan and like board in this, for instance, is the only deck I've ever boarded in 15 cards from my sideboard and just completely took out the
Yeah,
entire combo, right?
you do have entire avenues that you just kind of like lose from. Like if you get too many of your like combo pieces off to the sides and stuff like that, it's one of those things that you really need, and everything's about food chain. Like you need to find food chain, otherwise you can't create this board of like 3/3 flying beaters that just can just be really good.
Well, kind of right. Like if you're on the combo plan where you're in a matchup where you can't do the control game plan and you need to be comboing, then you really do need the food chain. But the thing is,
Yeah.
you can go to turn 20 with this combo deck,
Oh,
right? That's
yeah. Oh,
that's what's so
definitely.
weird about calling it that. Because half the time, honestly, you win with Mist Hollow Griffin beatdowns. Like, just turn that force of will into a 1 for 1, and then start swinging with a 4 mana 3/3, going all the way. This recruiter is Huh. This is interesting what we're going to see, what we're going to get. This is really going to make it clear what Malfi's plan is. I do think we're going to see going to get the squee. There's also the possibility of getting Walking Ballista because it is another interactive piece. Gets Hydroid Krasis. Of note, an infinite payoff card that also is pretty good, right? Like you can just go
Hydrate
ahead and pay
pierces,
6 for
yeah.
Hydroid Krasis and make it still a relevant card. Um,
Yeah.
but interesting that this is what Malfi is going for, of course.
Yeah,
Um,
and well, this is the important turn for Elves is the turn three turn because of the fact that this is their fastest pivot turn. This is where they can, if they have any amount of acceleration, they can just go off, including things like a Gaia's Cradle. If we see a Gaia's Cradle here, that might be game.
and we are seeing a Heritage Druid come down.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
are
we
we
got
are at the point of being able to produce just a load of mana. However, we don't see any glimpse yet. We don't actually see a Nettle Sentinel or anything that would really be allowing us to go off at this point. It looks like Shaman is noting which ones are summoning sickness. Or no, that's just
yeah,
mana in pool, I guess.
mana
And
and pool,
plays the
mana pool.
glimpse. This is it. This is the turn. If we had Julian here right now, we'd be getting the what is it? The Val is it Rise Ride of the
No,
Valkyries or
it's
something
not
along?
Rise of the Valkyries. It's the Charge music,
There we go.
from I can't remember, but yeah, I think that every single time as soon as I see the glimpse, and especially since we have glimpse plus wire. No, this is Nettle Sentinel.
Yeah, this
Oh
is
no, Wirewood Symbiote. I always get them mixed up. So with Wirewood Symbiote, being able to just consistently. Oh, okay. So we didn't see the cradle. The cradle is where the win comes from. Because if you can just slam a cradle here, produce like 5 to 6 green mana, you just call it good.
So real quick, scornful egotist, just so what you get what I mean. So when you're going and making the infinite mana that can only be spent on creature spells, the Hydroid Krasis allows you to draw your deck perfectly to then get the Walking Ballista that can actually kill. So it essentially
Yeah,
serves as
exactly.
in this ABC combo, it serves as the C piece. And of course, it's better than another ballista a lot of the time because guess what? It's pitchable to so a lot better when we're in these fair plans.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Shaman just going to town here at this point. Um, of course, flipping one insect over just to denote that it's already been used.
Yep. So no, this is what we were talking about with like the faster combo turn potential. Elves does pride itself on being like a very efficient turn three kill. But if it doesn't kill on turn three, honestly, it will just slam 6 to 7 to 8 power on board of 1/1s and just say, okay, well, I hope you can answer this. But
This
you
might be
know,
it. This might be it.
yeah,
So Shaman, of course, passed. We're seeing the food chain come down. Attack with the 2/1. All right, that looks a little less good now. But oh, reveals squee.
so yeah, we do have Squee. So then Squeeze gonna be able to create infinite mana, which then we could use to go find with the Hydrate Krasis to draw exactly our deck, gain a metric fuck ton of life, and then slam a Walking Ballista for infinite. So yeah, that goes the way of Malfi game one. And this is what we were saying is like Food Chain does have the capability of just slamming like a turn three kill, but it can also play that long game. And the game one, and if you're talking about like the faster goldfish deck, it would have been L's, but like yeah, this is a really fast food chain kill.
Yeah, well, and of course, it's the turn 4, which is kind of expected out of food chain. That's typically the turn that you can really go for it, unless you have a
Yeah,
Burning Paradise start. But ultimately, Shaman's just not able to convert on that turn 3, go for it. The Glimpse Chain wasn't quite good enough, and Malfi able to take it down with the good old Squee, the lovely goblin. Let's jump over to sideboards real quick, if that's all right.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
Shaman, of course, rocking the 4 Thoughtseize, the 3 Leyline of the Voids, the 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Mindbreak Trap, 2 Assassin's Trophy, good old Progenitus, Lord of all Hydras, and Collector Oof. What are you liking out of Shaman's sideboard for this second game?
Like I think this is a game that you can say and that you could safely bring in Progenitus, but at the same time, and that depending on like how long you're wanting to go. If you think that this might be the control side of food chain, then you're going to be wanting to be playing going with the Progenitus. If you think it's going to be the combo side, you just want to go as fast as possible. Personally, I just like really like the four Thoughtseize. I think Thoughtseize is really solid in this matchup. I think that hand disruption is really good and to like disrupt the combo, as well as the fact that like it all revolves around that like food chain, putting out that food chain, and so because of that, I think four Thoughtseize may be the one Progenitus. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking kind of similar. I'm not sure if we go in all the way on four thought seizes, especially when Shaman's on the play. It kind of expects, I think, the hate that you expect out of Malfi. I think that you do want to be as proactive as possible when you're on the play and basically try to convert that turn two, that turn three into the win, which when you start going into siding in 5 cards does get a little bit harder. I also want to say that abrupt decay isn't exactly bad here. A lot of times when you're on the food chase sign, abrupt decay is one of the only cards that actually stops you from going into combo. I don't think Malfi's going to be able to afford to go full combo. Elves,
Uh,
Elves, of
really,
course, is the deck that's quite good against control variants, right? Just because you're able to play like the mid range plan. So I do think Malfi does need to keep some amount of combo in. But of course, when we go over to that sideboard, there are some really good cards that you do want to be bringing in.
really important
Um,
here though. Shaman is on the Archon of Valor's reach plan. So you can do so. Don't even worry about the Progenitus. Slam a natural or a fast natural order. Get this, just put it on enchantment.
Yeah, and it just forces a response. And of course, you
It
cannot
forces
lightning
a
bolt that
response.
down out of this list. Let's jump
Yeah.
over to Malfi's side really quick. Malfi almost with the full one of sideboards, just a little bit short for it. We're seeing one Toski Bearer of Secrets, the good old new squirrel from Kaldheim, one
Squirrel.
Surgical Extraction, one Reclamation Sage, one Magus of the Moon, one Is It Staticaster, seems really good.
Yeah.
Uh, one Force of Negation, one Flusterstorm, one one Fairy Macabre, one Collector's Oof, one Carpet of Flowers, one Ancient Grudge, and then two Veil of Summers and two Pyroblasts. What are you liking out of Malfi's board plan?
I'm really liking the what's it called? The is it Static Caster because it's a very solid card. I also really don't mind maybe a one off of things like uh what's my call it? The Toski actually, because if you're going to talk about getting into any sort of board stalls or something like that, I would not bring in Flusterstorm though, or Force Negation. And in fact, I might even be going down on Force of Wills because of the fact that Allosaurus Shepherd completely negates all of that.
Yeah, I can absolutely respect that. I do think that there is the possibility of being able to go down on Eros too. They're not exactly amazing. Unfortunately, Malfi, like we kind of said, Malfi doesn't have a lot of cards to bring in this matchup, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Despite there being a bunch of cards that in theory could be coming out, I do think that those will be the cards that we're seeing a little bit of a hinge on. A lot of the times in this deck, also, you can go ahead and trim on Manipulate Fate in one or twos, but I think that we're going to be keeping all those in. I wouldn't, and again, I think you're right. It's going to be either Forces or Uros that we kind of come down on. And the big
yeah.
part here is it Staticaster? To a certain extent, you could almost get me on convincing me to put in Magus of the Moon as well, as crazy as that sounds. But being able to
No, I was gonna
have
suggest that
landscape
because,
study,
Magus of the Moon invalidates it's a big part of what the deck wants to do. If you're able to slam a turn 1 or a turn 2 Blood Moon style effect against elves, it surprisingly does a lot in shutting off not only the fetch lands for the Dryad Arbors and stuff like that, but it also does turn off Gaia's Cradles, which is the most important card of the deck. As we saw there, if that third land drop was a Guy's Cradle, that game would have been over.
yeah,
So
and of note, of course, right? There's only 2 forests in this version of Elves that Shaman is rocking. There
yeah,
is, of course, like, you have mana sources in your creatures, but I do think with as many bad cards as you have in the list, or quote unquote bad cards, that definitely is a slot that you can be bringing in as well. Besides
yeah,
that, not exactly excited about a ton else. You could bring in Veils because you expect Thoughtseize and Abrupt Decays to be possible cards out of Shaman as well, but we're gonna have to see the way that this goes. Both players keeping 7. Shaman going for the fetch for Savannah.
yeah. So the Savannah
Oh,
is so
into
you can
Llanowar Elf.
yeah.
There we go.
So sometimes you can just slam hard cast Archon Valor's Reach. In fact, I know that's the reason why a lot of elves players did pick up the Archon of Valor's Reach one because it's actually a semi castable natural order target. And in some games, it just lights out. Put that on turn one or turn two against Sneak and Show, Ant, Test, anything like that on sorcery. It's over. You win.
So Shaman just going a glimpse. In response, Malfi's going to crack the fetch land. Malfi on his turn, of course, just went Tarn Pass. It looks like we're going to see a Brainstorm, potentially digging for Force of Will is the thing that I would imagine.
Um, I would like to think so, but it could also be, yeah. If you're talking about in response brainstorm, you're digging for some sort of force effect.
And we're going to have to see if we are able to hit it.
I mean, even something like a bolt wouldn't be even like the worst thing here.
Yeah, not use one this turn. So your Shaman is, unless you hit force, Shaman's going to be able to get a good amount of value out of this glimpse. Likely at least two draws, because with the turn one Lanoir.
Uh,
And we tanking. Malfi be tanking right now.
Yeah. So there is some talk in the elves community between like players that play the one-off Llanowar elves versus players that don't. It's one of those things that in this specific situation, I do like Llanowar elves here because this is all about a game of like who has the turn one acceleration.
Yeah, and that, of course, the one of Llanowar Elves kind of goes in and out of Elves, but definitely has not been popular that much of late. This is actually a really interesting list from Shaman that I kind of wish we had Mike on right now to be able to talk about a little bit more. The White Splash for Archon main board with the Nettle version as well, just kind of interesting in general. And of course, the one of Llanowar Elf. The big change up, of course, is that there's only the one Craterhoof Behemoth. It's kind of the biggest change overall between the standard Elves that we see nowadays. And this glimpse is going. We drawn cards.
Yeah. Importantly, land for turn was a forest. So okay, so returning Allosaurus Shepherd, untap, recast Allosaurus Shepherd, draw a card. What are we hoping for here? We're out of gas.
Yeah, this is just a value glimpse.
It's
And
just
of
a
course,
value glimpse.
this glimpse drew 3 cards. It was essentially an
Yeah.
ancestral recall.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And importantly here with the Allosaurus Shepherd, it's not only just the fact that Allosaurus Shepherd makes it everything you own uncounterable. It's the fact that if you have a Gaia's Cradle with a full board of elves, you just turn everything into 5/5 dinosaurs and just swing.
I mean, that's the truth. The amount of times I've died to an Allosaurus Shepherd is more than Crater of Behemoth in the past couple
The
of months,
amount of times
to be
I've
honest.
died to Allosaurus Shepherd with Flusterstorm and Force of Will in my hand is very large because it gives all green spells uncounterable. And I believe Julian Knob is correct in saying like when people were saying like calling for Plague Engineer bans and stuff like that. And he said, "Dude, do you realize if you ban Plague Engineer, Elves just becomes default best deck?" And I
Yeah.
agree.
Um, there's a lot of cards in that quote unquote power level of Plague Engineer, where if Plague Engineer gets banned, a lot of cards need to get banned then in terms of if we're just talking about their their sheer effect. I mean,
Yeah.
Allosaurus Shepherd, also one of those cards, it turns out. That is definitely up there. Um,
Completely negating an entire section of cards that is used to traditionally fight in this matchup is massive. I
my
mean, it's
uh,
huge.
my matchup on Infect against Elves shifted from 60-40 on my side to 40-60 on the Elves side, just with the introduction of Allosaurus Shepherd, right?
Oh yeah,
Builderburn coming in to root for his nemesis Malfi. Hey, you know what though? If Malfi wins, that raises your opponent match win percentage. You know what I mean? You should be rooting for him.
there you go.
Bolt on Insect and passing it.
Yeah, and importantly, when it comes to the insect, oh, here we go, here we go. There's a cradle.
All right. Well, that is 5 mana right now.
Yep.
Plays
Oh, yeah. This might be
four,
GG's.
6.
So that's tap for three. That's 7 mana in total that Chaman can generate right now.
Of course, doing so is not able to actually be pumped into the actual attacker since everything will need to be tapped. But we're just going to be able to draw a little bit. If we are able to hit another insect, I think we'll be able to swing for 10 here.
I think so. So, yeah, definitely Wirewood Symbiote definitely required right now. Oh, Nettle Sentinel. This is where we needed. So
This is
Nettle
where we can produce
Sentinel.
mana.
Yep. Okay.
Interesting choice not to do the Heritage Druid and Nettle Sentinel and one of the Visionaries before we play this Quirion Ranger, but it might
Mm.
be a little unnecessary at this point.
Oh, is this a? Is this just an attack for 1? Oh, wow, yeah, it's just an attack for 1, and
Interesting.
okay.
I thought we had at least a swing with 1/5/5 there. One, one, two,
Like,
one,
you
two,
could.
three. Yeah, we
That I
could
think
swing
that
for 5, but that's all that we would be able to get to. Malfi down to 17 now.
Magus of the Moon came in.
There we go, and this is exactly why we said that it was such a potentially good card. So, of course, Shaman actually does have one of the 2 forests, so it's not a complete lock on lands producing the mana that's necessary. But you know what? Just turning that Gaia's Cradle into a mountain is well worth it.
Yeah, honestly, it invalidates the guy's cradle, which is huge. Shaman's gonna be able to generate 1 metric fuck ton worth of mana for the through just like the heritage druid
Yeah, this is lethal.
for
Tap 3, attack with
5.
4/5/5s, force to block with Magus. Oh, but we can also do an untap. Yeah, this is done. This is
Yeah.
attack with 5/5/5s.
Yep. One,
It
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 5 5s. Jeez. Shepherd is so good.
Yeah, this is exactly what we were talking about, right? So not only does it negate the force plan against elves, which traditionally was one of the best ways to deal with it, namely because if you aren't afraid of just dying to 1/1s in the long game, and you like have a proactive plan yourself, spending a force on the natural order was kind of all that you needed to do, as long as you could also kill in a few turns as well. But Alistair Shepherd both nullifying that and then also being another absolute board wipe that can win. Who needs Craterhoof Behemoth?
Who needs Crater Hoof Behemoth when you're a 1 mana creature? 1 mana. It doesn't even give a fuck about Chalice of the Void. It
Yeah,
just does not care. It is the honey badger of the deck. It just does not care. And it's just gonna just keep on doing its thing and just keep on bashing it. Like that's honestly, Alistair Shepherd, the only way that you could have made this more broken is if you print it as a 1/2 so it can block Goblin Lackey.
yeah. Well, at least it dies a plague engineer, I
At
guess.
least it dies to play engineer.
Also, massive props as always to the people behind the scenes. We have Chaotic Bear streaming for us. We got Pie Boy table spotting. Pie Boy absolutely making my day going, oh, I thought they turned into 3/3s. And it's just like, oh, that makes it for me. Yes, that is lethal, in fact.
Yeah.
Um, oh, this is
Yeah.
fantastic. Do you think board plans change at all? I think Malfi's will likely stay the same. We didn't get to see a ton of what he's doing, but maybe if he decided a little bit out of combo, if he had found enough cards that he wanted to put in, maybe we go back to just being as fast as possible. I do think Shaman, now that Shaman is on the draw, is able to go a little bit more, take on a few more sideboard cards than I initially thought going into the game too. Being able to like maybe actually bring in these thought seizes looks a little bit better for me now. But what do you think? Do you think this gets altered around at all? Maybe the Progenitus comes in now.
I
What do you
think
think?
I think the Progenitus on the draw can do it because putting Malfi on a 2-turn clock is, like, not the worst, especially when, the lightning bolts can convert better on with him being on the play. So because of that, I really do think that Progenitus might find its way into the deck, and then you might, just, like, cut down on things like Hand Disruption because Hand Disruption is never as good on the, draw as it will be on the play.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that follow. I'm so sorry I was unable to read it. It was a little too small on my screen, but thank you, thank you. Um, of note here, really. So we were talking about how great this red version is in terms of the recruiters being able to convert into the squee, turning into the infinite mana combo, in the way that the white recruiter isn't able to do in the Vant version. But the biggest thing, and one of the reasons that I was always on Sultai for so long, you know what's really missing from this list that would be fantastic? Plague Engineer.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up. Like I thought about that at the very beginning when we were looking over deck lists. Plague Engineer, yes. We said it on the podcast when we were talking about it. Like some of the best sideboard cards you can have right now in the format is going to be Plague Engineer right now. Plague Engineer just buys you so much time against these decks. It forces them to deal with it. If they see that you're not on black, then they can just okay. I don't have to board in Abrupt Decays if I don't want to because everything I'm going to do is just going to be better than what you can do. So, ooh, are we seeing a forest on the turn one Land War?
This is aggressive. Are we? I imagine we're ditching Hydrate or not a Hydrate, a Mistral Griffin here.
Probably missed hollow.
What was the
That
we'll
was an
see. Our
aggressive
spotter's
forest.
just catching up right now. We'll be able to tell you what the ditch card was here.
Yeah.
Yep, pitching the Griffin. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Go figure 2 for winning yourself for a land war elf doesn't exactly feel the best, unless you're incredibly
Uh,
desperate and you really need your opponent to stumble. However, when it's a 1 for 1, it all of a sudden gets a lot better.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I was gonna say about this deck is that this is the only deck I will admit that Force of Will is a great card in. This is the only time you will ever hear me say Force of Will is an amazing card in this deck because it does exactly what you want and literally throws the combo piece into exile where you want it to be.
That force was actually fantastically done just because immediately Allosaurus Shepherd comes down. So
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
this force was not going to be convertible at all. It wasn't even going to be something that you can just ditch your Missile Griffins for value. Like that was hands down perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that if you're not going to force this now, when are you going to force it?
Not after an Allosaurus Shepherd, I will tell you that.
Exactly.
And of course, as these lists have ratcheted up, originally it was like a two of in the list, then it was a three of in the list. Now everyone's just like, no, I'm
No.
going to buy the fourth copy
We
and we're going to
we
slam
all
four.
knew that it was gonna be a 4 of, it was a 2 of because the jumpstart allocation was so terrible.
The oh,
That's
there were
why it was
people
a 2
making
of.
mad money off of opening them in treasure chests when that first came out. Oh my goodness, it was like
Oh,
1 in
$200
10,000 treasure chests or something like that.
200 ticks X for 1, it was so busted. I remember tuning into Julian's stream and, people were asking why he wasn't playing Alistar Shepherd, he's like, "'Cause I can't fucking get him."
I remember when
Like
it first came out, I think it was, who was it? I think it was White Faces or somebody that White Faces knew who actually got 3 Allosaur Shepherds, and this one set of 3 Allosaur Shepherds kept moving around from challenge to challenge to different players, and each one of them, like, taking it down and going top 8. So the joke was that these 3 digital cards had just won so much money of themselves because they were just being lent out because they were just unattainable for so long. This Brainstorm and a pass.
yeah,
This
this
is
is
this is getting really scary on Malfi's side.
Malfi's Brainstorm locked, we got a Shepherd, we got, a Heritage Druid. This might be game over.
If you had the bolt there on Malfi's turn, would you bolt the Heritage Druid or the Allosaurus Shepherd there?
If I still had, if I had Force of Will or any other permission in my hand, I would bolt the Allosaurus Shepherd. If I had no permission, I would send it to the Heritage Druid.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. And Cradle comes down. We got mana for days.
Because why not? Why not have one land that taps for your board?
And 6 mana for Archon coming down, being able to make white off of the Morph card. What is it again?
This is what I was saying. It
Curse
can
Lord.
be hard cast easily. And this is a turn 3 Archon like it's nothing. And what's it going to be on?
Hear me out. You name instant here. At least
I,
in my mind, you play instant. You aren't worried about a combo off on the following turn. You have lethal. Instants are
yeah.
Malfi's only way of interacting with you.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, like, you haven't seen that. You've only seen the combo, and then, like, you just killed them on turn 3. Well, I could see instant, but what does that shut down? Brainstorm, Bolt, and Force of Will. Like, I would probably honestly say, Enchantment just because of the fact that I knew it was a hit. What Oh, yep, name's Enchantment. There we go. It invalidates one of your things,
35.
so Nathan Lippitz, thank you for the resubscribe, buddy. Thank you for being a member of this community.
Thank you, thank you. Of course, we have 30 minutes left in this round at this point. Um, these players did go ahead and get about a 7-minute extension. I don't believe we're going to get there, but 30
Yeah.
minutes for the rest of the players. I guess 37 roughly for these guys.
To be fair, this Mist Hollow Griffin does do well at blocking if it wasn't for the fact that this Archon has flying, vigilance, and trample. So it's like 5/6, dude.
That's what I mean. It's we just have lethal here. What was the name? I'm sorry, I got distracted there for a moment by TO
Enchantment.
duties. Okay.
Yeah.
Again,
So
I do really like the instant name if you think that you are able to kill on this next turn, which I imagine that Shaman's able to. But at the same time, it's fine. You weren't punished by it in theory, right? By just putting on enchantment here, and we are threatening lethal.
yep, this is 100% lethal coming in right now. Because of the fact that if Mist Hollow doesn't block, let's see, if it doesn't block one of the creatures, the elves, it dies. But if it doesn't block the Archon, it dies. And then you just pump, and they're all dinosaurs.
They all 5/5s. They big.
Rar.
They
And
real big.
real big. Yeah, because Allosaurus Shepherd, once again, is such a busted magic card that this is the reason why Plague Engineer exists. And if you're not running 2 to 3 Plague Engineer in your deck, if you can support it, do it.
Yeah,
It's great.
hands down.
It is so good right now. Oh, and I think Malfi's doing the math, seeing the board coming at him, and yep, that is it. So thank you everybody for joining us with this finals of our Saturday Legacy challenge. Basically, if you want to join this, hit up the exclamation point Discord. Come join us in the Discord. Come play some Magic. Come play some good Legacy paper Magic. Like it's so much fun. Like I just jammed 4 games today. I had a time of my life. It was great. So I'm Dr. Leo. Oliver, you got anything to say before we close this out?
Just big props to our both of our players today. We
Yeah.
rocked a 5 round event with about 41 people, these being our only 2 undefeated 4-0s going into it. Shaman getting 2 challenge victories with Elves over the past 2 weeks, which is incredibly impressive. And big props to Malfi. Malfi, of course, is really one of our post experts, one of our good old mud players, if you want to call him that. And really showing us what food chain can do with his first time taking the deck out, which is always impressive to see with someone's first run with a deck. Looks like we did see Force Negation come in as well, which is interesting. And the Flusterstorm. Wait, no, I think we're just talking about other parts of the sideboard at this point.
Oh,
But
okay.
as always, thank you all so much for coming in and playing. It was a pleasure to be a TO for all the players today. Thank you all for your flexibility and also just for doing a great time and playing the best format around. And as always, I gotta say, from me, Doc, and the rest of the staff at the MTG Paper Legacy Discord, let us be your local meta.
Have a good one, everybody.